But before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed to Secrets of Ancient Egypt. Hit the notification bell and join us on this journey, because what you'll learn today could totally change the way you see the restoration of pharaonic power. Imagine Egypt weak and divided, temples abandoned, gods neglected, and people split apart after the chaos of the Amarna period.
Picture a kingdom shaken by Akhenaten's attempt to erase thousands of years of tradition and force everyone to worship just one god, Aten.
The scars of that religious experiment were still fresh in people's minds, and Egypt was desperate for someone who could restore order. That man was Horemheb, the general who became pharaoh and took on the tough job of rebuilding Egypt after years of turmoil.
Welcome, lovers of ancient Egypt. Today, we're going to explore how Horemheb, a military man who rose to power in a critical moment, was tasked with bringing Egypt back to life after one of the most controversial chapters in its history.
Stick around until the end, because we'll uncover a fascinating mystery about his legacy that still puzzles experts. Horemheb knew that to bring Egypt back to glory, he had to work on several fronts: rebuild temples, restore the priesthood of Amun, reorganize the government, and most importantly, erase every trace of the Amarna period. This wasn't just politics, it was a full-on cleansing of the recent past.
His first move was reviving the traditional cults. Temples that Akhenaten had closed or neglected were repaired. The priests of Amun in Thebes regained their power, and religious festivals returned in full glory.
Horemheb understood that people needed to feel like the gods were back, that chaos was over, and cosmic order, Ma'at, had been restored.
So, Horemheb didn't just bring back the old gods. He actually rolled out legal reforms to clamp down on corruption and make justice fairer for everyone. Egyptologists, they see this as a real turning point. Horemheb wasn't just about putting statues back in temples. He was rebuilding trust and stability for regular folks.
From the very beginning, it was obvious. Horemheb wasn't just some transition pharaoh. He was the man who rebuilt traditional Egypt, laying the groundwork for the mighty Ramesside dynasty that would turn Egypt into a superpower again.
And hey, here's a fun fact. Horemheb wasn't even royal by birth. He actually rose to the throne thanks to his military chops and political smarts. What do you think about a commoner rewriting history and starting a whole new dynasty? Let us know in the comments. And if you're enjoying this journey through history, don't forget to like the video. It really helps more people discover the secrets of ancient Egypt.
Once he became pharaoh, Horemheb erased the names of the Amarna rulers, Akhenaten, and even Tutankhamun from the official records and replaced them with his own, as if he'd taken the throne right after Amenhotep III.
It wasn't just pride at play here. It was a political move. A way to present himself as the rightful heir to Egypt's last golden age. His famous decree at Karnak really shows this. There, Horemheb calls himself the restorer of order, a man who corrects injustice and rebalances the land.
The decree actually lists punishments for corrupt officials, tax cheats, and anyone abusing their power. Many Egyptologists say it's one of Egypt's earliest legal reform documents.
Foreign policy had really been a mess under the Amarna rulers. Egypt had lost territory and influence. Horemheb worked hard to win back respect abroad. Horemheb also put a lot of energy into strengthening his base, the army. He reorganized the troops, fortified the borders, and made sure Egypt could defend itself against threats from the Hittites and rebellious groups in Asia. Horemheb made sure to show himself as the man chosen by the gods to restore Ma'at. That's the divine order of the universe. Historians like James K. Hoffmeyer and Mark Vandermeer Roop point out that Horemheb isn't remembered for massive temples like Ramesses II, but for, reorganizing a broken country. His statues often show him with a stern general's face and a commanding presence, a real reflection of his military roots and strong personality. At the same time, he poured resources into religion. Temples of Amun got donations, monuments were rebuilt, and traditional worship was brought back all over the place. Folks who'd been forced to worship only Aten finally felt like life was back to normal.
But there's a twist. Despite ruling with strength, Horemheb left no direct heirs. His marriage to Mutnejmet, Nefertiti's sister, produced no known children. So, he appointed his successor, Paramessu, who became Ramesses I, founder of the mighty 19th dynasty. That decision set the stage for famous pharaohs like Seti I and Ramesses II. By erasing the Amarna kings from memory and promoting himself as Egypt's restorer, Horemheb became more than a king. He became a symbol of divine order returning to the land.
But when it comes to lasting impact, Horemheb's legal reforms might have been his most important legacy.
His famous Karnak decree laid down harsh punishments for corrupt officials. For example, anyone caught stealing taxes or messing with harvest could be flogged, stripped of their property, or even executed.
This focus on justice was meant to rebuild people's trust in the government, showing that the pharaoh stood with the oppressed and that Ma'at, divine justice, had been restored.
He also tightened control over the economy. Resources that had been mismanaged during the Amarna chaos were redistributed. Temples received regular offerings again, craftsmen returned to working on state projects, and farmers enjoyed more protection from abuse.
Slowly but surely, everyday life started getting back to normal.
Religion, of course, was at the heart of this recovery. Horemheb knew his reign would be shaky without the blessing of Amun, so he made sure to rebuild damaged temples, especially in Thebes, where the priesthood had been sidelined under Akhenaten. Religious processions returned to the streets, festivals were celebrated in grand style, and people felt like the gods had come back. This spiritual revival was key in cementing his acceptance as pharaoh. Interestingly, Horemheb also tried to show cultural continuity. Even though he erased the names of the Amarna kings, he didn't destroy all their works. Many Amarna monuments were dismantled, but their blocks were reused in new buildings, almost as if he was recycling the past to give it new meaning. What was once a symbol of heresy became part of restoration.
Modern Egyptologists point out that this rewriting of history had a massive impact. Generations after him almost completely forgot the Amarna rulers. For centuries, people believed Horemheb had taken the throne right after Amenhotep II, until archaeology revealed the truth. It shows just how effective his manipulation of memory really was.
Even though Horemheb wasn't royal by blood, he understood the power of image better than most pharaohs. He knew ruling wasn't enough. He had to look like the chosen restorer of divine order. That's why he commissioned statues showing himself in full Pharaonic majesty, often dressed as a victorious warrior with the blue war crown, symbol of strength and authority. These statues reflect both his military roots and his determination to present himself as a king blessed by the gods.
One of the key aspects of his rule was how he linked justice with religion. To him, the two pillars were inseparable. A corrupt official wasn't just cheating people, he was disrupting the cosmic balance of the universe. Restoring Egypt meant restoring justice, and that became Horemheb's mission. His Karnak decree is a unique testimony to this vision. It lists penalties for judges who accepted bribes, scribes who tampered with records, and tax collectors who overcharged citizens. These weren't just bureaucratic measures. They were public declarations that the pharaoh himself guaranteed fairness and equality. Some scholars, like William Hornung, argue that these reforms even inspired the governing style of later 19th dynasty pharaohs.
Horemheb also strengthened the army, not just for defense but as a key administrative institution. Many of his closest officials came from military ranks, ensuring loyalty and efficiency. This reflected his own identity, a soldier who rose to power through skill, not birthright. Still, what's most striking is his long-term vision. Despite erasing Amarna's legacy, Horemheb didn't try to start his own dynasty. With no children of his own, he avoided handing power to weak relatives or risking instability. Instead, he carefully chose his successor, Paramessu, a trusted general, who became Ramesses I, founder of the powerful 19th dynasty. That choice reveals a lot. Horemheb wasn't just thinking about his reign, he was thinking about Egypt's future. His goal was to make sure the chaos of Amarna never happened again. By putting a strong man with a capable family on the throne, he guaranteed a smooth transition. The temples rebuilt under him, especially those of Amun in Thebes, became symbols of this rebirth. People once again joined in festivals, processions and offerings, renewing not just religion but also their sense of national identity. Egyptians felt protected by the gods and ruled by a just leader.
And the proof of his success? The pharaohs who followed him, Ramesses I and Ramesses II, continued his policies, expanding Egypt's power and restoring its glory. Even if Horemheb wasn't remembered as a great conqueror or builder, his influence was deeply felt in the achievements of those who came after him.
So here's something to reflect on. What matters more in history? Building massive monuments that last for eternity, or laying the foundation so others can thrive? Horemheb clearly chose the second option, and because of that, Egypt entered one of its greatest eras. Tell me, do you think Horemheb's decision to hand power to another man was an act of humility or pure pragmatism? Drop your answer in the comments. I really want to hear what you think.
Horemheb's legacy can't be understood without seeing him as a bridge between two worlds, the Egypt torn apart by Amarna and the Egypt reborn in the 19th dynasty. His reign closed one turbulent chapter and opened another filled with strength and unity. And here's the fascinating part. He wasn't even born royal. He was a commoner who rose through the military ranks thanks to his discipline and talent. His story shows that in times of crisis, even someone outside the royal bloodline could seize power and change history. His most controversial move, erasing the Amarna kings from official records, raises another question. Was it necessary for stability, or was it an injustice that robbed those pharaohs of their rightful place in history? For centuries, Horemheb's plan worked. It took modern archaeology to bring Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, and others back into the story. In the end, Horemheb's true power lay not in giant monuments or great conquests, but in his ability to rebuild, restore trust, and reshape memory itself. That's what makes him one of the most fascinating figures in ancient Egypt.
Finally, thank you so much for listening and being part of this journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment below. Stay tuned for more stories about how Horemheb brought Egypt back to normal after